Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, brought to you by the great folks over at Zephyr Epic. You can use promo code HOCKEYSEASON, capital H, capital S, all one word, Hockey Season. That will get you $5 off your order at zephyrepic.com. ZEPHYR Epic. Find them on all platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, whatever it is. Zephyr Epic has got you covered for all of your trading card needs, so be sure to go check them out online with free shipping on any order Canada-wide over $50. Retail location in Surrey as well. Beautiful retail location. I do. I see the ropes, Chris. David Quadrelli, Chris Faber, technical producer is Alex Allard, and intern Emil on his last day behind the scenes for us here. Intern Emil is with us as well. This is the Canucks Conversation podcast, and Chris is pointing out, for those on the YouTube live show watching, they're doing some window cleaning in your Aquilini tower that you live in, and you had the ropes right in front of your window there on our camera there.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Alex is running double duty right now, letting everybody know in the chat. Everybody who's here on YouTube. And by the way, chat's going today. Some days the chat doesn't wake up at all, but chat's going today. Okay, I got a pack here. I haven't opened it. Anything. Okay, that is a very cool looking card for people on YouTube here. A Connor Hellebuyck UD canvas. What a celebration. Connor Hellebuyck. Here's an intro. I like Connor Hellebuyck a lot. I feel like nobody dislikes Connor Hellebuyck. I like that he's pretty intense with like some of the quotes that he's given out. He's been an excellent goalie in the NHL for a while. Does anybody hate Connor Hellebuyck? Like, it's not like the Jets have screwed over any other team in playoff games either. It's like, everybody probably just likes Connor Hellebuyck and thinks he's a great goaltender. I think that's how I feel anyways.
Do the Oilers have the assets to trade for Connor Hellebuyck? Are they a Connor Hellebuyck away from a cup, Chris? Honestly, and the Oilers is just one example, but we're talking about Connor Hellebuyck. Let's talk hockey right now. There's got to be a team out there that's looking at Connor Hellebuyck and wants him, right? Like, and if you're the Jets, you got to tear it down, right? Like, this core isn't going to get it done. You saw Paul Maurice just step down and leave for Florida. We saw Rick Bowness call out the leadership group, and I already ripped Blake Wheeler for his comments at the end of the year where, he's asked about Bowness, what he said about the Jets core, and he's like, oh, I thought it could have been handled in-house. And basically what Bowness was getting at was that this core, this leadership group, Wheeler, who he stripped the captaincy of, they're too soft and they're too okay with losing. And hey, like, that's not the answer I want to hear. If you're getting criticized for that and you say, oh, it could have been kept in-house. Yeah, it could have, but come on. Like, they got to tear it down in Winnipeg. I'm starting right off the bat, really passionate already. I just, look, like, he's got to be the guy to go. Vincent Jericho in the YouTube live chat said surely Toronto would take him. Hey, there's another team. There's another team that could use an elite level goaltender, right? Although Buffalo, I like Joe Wall.
You get him in Buffalo. You got Devin Levi, like, learning the ropes from Connor Hellebuyck for 1 year, and then Levi's the guy next year. I love that plan. I think that's great. But I'm curious to see how much, what does he go for in a trade? I would have no idea where that trade even starts. Like, I don't know what the return.
And that's the thing. That's the thing with goaltenders, is we see them so rarely moved on the trade market that we don't really have much to go off of, right? Like, who knows exactly how much it's going to cost a team to get a Connor Hellebuyck or get any goaltender for that matter. And hey, this is Canucks Conversation. Makes you very happy that the Canucks have Thatcher Demko, does it not? And hey, Archer Seelov's continuing to put on a show for Latvia at the World Championships. The Canucks goaltending is in good hands. And don't forget, don't sleep on Nikita Tolopilo as well. I'm excited to watch him at training camp in Victoria. And of course, he might even be at Young Stars development camp. He's 23. Oh. We'll see if he's there. He's 23, so maybe right at that cutoff. Like, Mark Gatcomb went last year. Also minor news, Mark Gatcomb has been signed to a 1-year AHL extension. Lots of improvement from Gatcomb down the stretch. Appeared in all 6 playoff games for the Abbotsford Canucks. I keep getting off topic here, but I wonder, Tolopilo, do we see him at development camp? 23 years old, so we'll see.
Yeah, I bet he's here. They like getting the Europeans in if they can, right? Because they're not going to get him at Young Stars and stuff. I mean, Tolopilo will be at Young Stars, I would expect. And that'll be a great, hey, listen, you watch the Canucks at Young Stars in Penticton, I tell you what, Seelovs, Tolopilo, those 2 guys rolling for you net, you're feeling pretty good about that. I'm curious how many people would be interested in coming up to Penticton with us for a little get together there. It's Young Stars is a blast. Okay, I hope that we'd be able to get some listeners out to the show. We'll be doing some live stuff out there if possible. I know I'm going to be there. I think you're going to be there at Young Stars this year. We'll have to see what happens. with training camp right after as well. We'll see. We will see what happens, but I think that would be a blast to get out there for youngsters and Penticton that time of year. I mean, come on, couldn't get any better. And Quads, I need you out there because my last time I played golf with Harm, listen, you're not a great golfer, but you can at least swing it pretty well.
Hey,
You
I
can't putt.
shot +5. I shot no, I've been putting. I got a new putter for Christmas. I'm
Oh,
telling you, I shot +5 the other day at Kensington Pitch and Putt, North Burnaby.
okay.
Shout out North
Okay.
Burnaby.
Geez, so JT Miller's shooting. Well, you beat JT Miller then, but he played on an actual golf course. You played on your backyard pitch and putt. You just stabbed a hole in the ground. Okay, I hope that Alex is here. I want to get this FIFA logo up first because you brought this up. You said you got to talk about this FIFA logo. This
We
is
do.
this is horrendous.
He just texted us and told us to wait to call for that. So just a second,
Okay,
because I got something else. I
go
got
ahead.
something else. Going old school here. I got my pen and paper. Okay, for those on the YouTube live show and the podcast, you can believe that I've got a pen and paper out. I am trying to write out the Canucks goaltending depth chart. Like I'm trying to write out every goaltender that they have in the organization because we were just talking about the deal with Spencer Martin, Archer Seelovs, and now Nikita Tolopilo, who I keep reminding everybody not to sleep on. We talked about that at length
Yep.
on the last episode. So, Chris, this is how I have it. At the NHL level, you've got Thatcher Demko, Spencer Martin. AHL, you've got Archer Seelovs, Nikita Tolopilo. And then in the draft, in the pipeline, right, like in your prospect pipeline, you've got Aku Koskenvo and you've got
Oh,
Ty Young. I don't expect them to take a goaltender this year. Maybe you take a late round flyer. Like we know that Ian Clark likes to take goaltenders every 2 out of 3 years. They take a goaltender. So theoretically, they wouldn't take one this year because Koskemvo. What year was Koskemvo drafted? He was 2020, right?
2021, I believe.
Okay, and then they took Young last year. So theoretically, they won't take a goaltender this year. Hey, like I just said, they've got some nice bodies in there. They've got some nice players in that goaltending pipeline. We saw Koskemvo and Ty Young at development camp out at UBC. I'm really curious, like I already said, if we see Tolopilo not only at Young Stars but out at Dev Camp too, because hey,
I think so.
how valuable was the work? How valuable was the work that these guys were getting with Koskemvo and Ty Young? Like I spoke to Ty Young, only media member to request Ty Young at development camp, might I add. I was talking to him and we were just talking about it was like day one, and basically what he learned, and Canucks fans will know what I'm talking about, is that shuffling of the feet that Ian Clark trained goaltenders do when the puck is being cycled up high. Canucks fans might not even notice it that it's that different because they see Thatcher Demko do it, they see Spencer Martin do it. Every goaltender, even Colin Delia to some extent, was doing it this year. Every goaltender that is on the Canucks does this little shuffle with their feet, right? And it's very different. It's very different than what a lot of goaltenders are taught. A lot of them are taught, low and wide, look through traffic, all that. Where with Ian Clark, it's be upright, shuffle your feet, hands activated and ready, but you're still upright and shuffling your feet. I was talking to Ty Young about that, and he said, like, yeah, it's very different. And now the question I have for him is, because I asked him, I said, how much do you think you're going to be able to actually implement that or work on that when you go to Prince George in the WHL? Because that's the thing is they don't have the chance to work with these guys all year long the way they do with Marco Terenius out in Abbotsford, or of course with Ian Clark out at the NHL level. So I'm curious to see how much have Koskemvo and Ty Young actually progressed in the last year. Like when we show up at development camp, is it going to be like when everybody shows up after summer vacation and they need a refresher because they've forgotten everything that they learned? Like I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious to see how these goaltenders have done over the year that they've had. Obviously Koskemvo in Harvard didn't play a ton. Ty Young, though, in Prince George, he was a good goaltender out there. He was a good goaltender for a very weak Prince George team out in the WHL.
Yeah, and he ended up being the starter in the playoffs, right? Because they had the injury to is it Tyler Brennan? Is the other the goaltender out there? I believe in Prince George. He had the injury in the playoffs,
Yep.
so it was a long run. And Ty Young, I think Lisa can vouch for this. I think they ran into the Seattle Thunderbirds, and they got swept, obviously, in four because Thunderbirds are rolling. They're up 3-1 in their series right now. Dub's going to be over here very soon. So that's good. Good for Lisa and the great folks down there. That Seattle team, they're so much fun. But I think Ty Young should be there for sure at development camp. I'm very curious to see if Tolopilo's there at development camp because it's it really is 4 days of working with Ian Clark is very good in the off season. You're not going to get fined for it for some reason because I don't know how that works. But at least you can get him in here and get him with the goaltending coach, get him working with the players, seeing shots, all these type of things. And then also I like the fact that it's a big event where you can learn some of the players that you're going to be around for the next coming years, because there's going to be a lot of guys at development camp that are probably going to be on the AHL team. Josh Bloom's an example. You can look at, Aiden McDonough might end up being there again. Some of these younger players that are going to be at development camp and working with them and being in the AHL next year. It's a good spot for Tolopilo, so I do hope that he is there next year. But we'll have to see it in the summer here because it's coming up pretty soon, right? Only a couple months away now from development camp. It's the week after the draft, right? If I remember correctly, because when I was flying back from Montreal, it was back from Montreal and I was right out to UBC. So development camp, that'll be a lot of fun. Get going. I hope Tolopilo's there. I am excited to see who the Canucks draft for their first round pick, but we'll get to some of that a little bit later as well. Do we have Alex yet?
No, but
I don't.
I'm texting him and I told him,
Okay,
I said, throw the logo on the screen
there he
unprompted. Here
is.
we go. Alex looking at the cues, right on cue, our producer, Alex Allard. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this. And for those in the podcast, you've probably seen it already, but the FIFA World Cup 2026 World Cup logo, if you want to call it that, was unveiled yesterday on Wednesday. Now, the internet is reacting to this exactly how you thought they would because, Chris, I don't even know what to make of this logo. It is the World Cup, like the actual World Cup, like the trophy,
Mm-hmm.
over what is supposed to be a 2 and a 6. And if you look hard, that's what it is, folks. It's a 2 and a 6. The 2 and a 6 are vertical, okay? And then it just says FIFA underneath it. So technically, I know what this is for. So the logo technically accomplishes, remember our schooling, Chris, remember what we learned at BCIT. It technically accomplishes what it was supposed to, what it was supposed to, the message it was supposed to pass along. So technically, I do understand that this is a logo for the World Cup. But that is the absolute bare minimum requirement. That is basically like saying, look, our team has hustle, habits, and structure, or whatever it was that the Canucks said. This is the Canucks commercial of World Cup logos, Chris. And folks, we don't have the other images on hand, but if you go look at the past logos, I know Caroline Schved, our colleague over at the 90th Minute podcast, she covered this a bit more at length here. This is a weird looking logo, Chris. Like, I have never seen anything quite like this where they go so hard for simplicity that it just looks bad. Like, it looks like something that was thrown together. Keep in mind, this World Cup is hosted by 3 nations: United States, Canada, and Mexico. 3 nations hosting this World Cup. The best minds in these nations should have been put on this because they clearly put one mind on this. And hey, I don't mean to, trash the designer of this too much, but I don't know how much time he had to do this, how many resources they
Dude,
had to do
come on.
this. It was,
This
yeah, it was not a
this
good
logo
logo.
looks like if you told me like if it was like 12:59 and you're like, hey, that logo needs to be in my one, I'd be like, oh crap, like I just immediately I could do this on Snapchat in a minute. That's what I would do. So I don't know. And the font, I hate it. The two looks like how fat these, the 6 looks like a side view of me 6 months into the pandemic. I mean, that was like that. These are some of the thickest numbers I've ever seen in my life. And then yeah, like it's too bad because yeah, this is supposed to like show off, I guess, the USA, Mexico, Canada fun thing putting it together, but yeah, the logo sucks. Let's move on. DM Payne's got a good point. Slow news day, boys. Yeah, but we got some stuff to talk about. So let's move on from the FIFA logo. I know you wanted to talk about this
Look,
thing though, but hey,
Look, the
yeah, go ahead.
news of the day, the big news of the day is that Mark Gatcombe signed a 1-year extension. Okay, so
Oh,
yes, it is a slow news day.
no, it's not too bad. Hey, you mentioned it already, but today is our last show with intern Emil, by the way, too, who's done an excellent job. All the clips that you're seeing up on YouTube. You're also going to see a commercial for Zephyr Epic coming up very soon. We're going to put that on all of our socials. Emil, just an incredible job as our intern. Good BCIT kid. He stuck it through, graduated, smarter than you, Quads. You couldn't make it through the 2 years. We all get it. Some people just can't do it. They can't make it through. I did, of course. Easy money. But Emil's done an incredible job with us. I just want to say he's been a pleasure to deal with and couldn't ask for a better intern. So this is our last show. Give him some love in the chat. Emil's done a great job. All those clips you're seeing up on the YouTube account, that's all Emil. So great stuff. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. I guess that's more dumped onto my plate, more slop from Nation Network being dumped onto Faber's plate. I see how it is.
Actually, and I can tell you this now. Emil is sticking around. Emil is
Okay,
sticking
never
around.
mind.
He did a fantastic job, so he will be staying on board. We're gonna see what happens come October. We'd like to keep him on board. We'll see what happens. But for the offseason, Emil is sticking around.
Oh, good.
Very very excited to bring him aboard. Yeah, so that'll be good. And hey, here we go with the oh, more on Faber's plate. No, more on my plate, like it was before. Emil's been doing all the socials this past month and a bit since he's been on as our intern. That's all coming back to me. You didn't do anything when it came to that. That was all me, and now it's going back on my plate. So look, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this whole woe is me attitude from soon to be 30-year-old Chris Faber. My goodness.
Ugh. Yeah, today's my last day in the 20s, actually. So oh. And you know what I'm doing for my birthday? Big birthday tomorrow, big 30. Going to the dentist for the first time in about 8 years. So that's my big plans for my birthday. I am going to the dentist, which I'm actually pretty excited for because I've been telling you, my teeth have not been great for the last little bit. They got cracks in there. I had one fall out the other day, but we got to get these things figured out. So I'm excited. Back to the dentist. Yeah, my last show is a 20-year-old. I'll be 30 tomorrow. Let's get into it. I think we got Alex here now. So I do want to get this video up from Frank Seravalli, who joined. I believe it was Oilers Nation. It was one of these Oily boys. They got 40 shows over there at Oilers Nation. I don't know what's going. 80 people in the office every morning, 6 a.m. They're all working hard. You and me, not the same. But Oilers Nation had Frank Seravalli on, and he brought up something interesting about the salary cap. Because how long have we been talking about an $81.5 million cap, and it's going to go up $1 million? $1 million. Very different opinion here from Frank. Who, listen, this guy, we don't have to talk about Frank. He's locked in. But some interesting quotes here about the salary cap for next season. Let's hear from Frank Seravalli, who joined Oilers Nation there with Liam and Yaremchuk over there. This is from Monday, I believe. So let's hear from Frank Seravalli now.
There is, I know I've asked you this before, but I'll ask again. There is a real chance this thing goes up like 3 or 4 million, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's, in fact, the most likely avenue, given where we are with revenues, given where we are with the amount of money that's been paid back, probably 95 or 97% of the debt that was owed from players to owners. And I just think there's no stakeholder that's involved in this process wants to see the cap frozen for another year.
Yeah.
The only real winner in that is really no one, because at the end of the day, once that debt is paid off, the players still get a 50-50 split. So let's say the cap is artificially low for another year and that debt is paid off sooner, and you have revenue that essentially flows over what those expectations are. The owners then have to write a check back to the players at the end of next season. So it becomes a who's paying who type scenario. Should the players just be getting more from the start? Should teams have more flexibility from the start? There's a lot of things to consider. And I still think at this point in time, as we've yet to get any sort of substantive negotiations yet, that seems to be the most likely path.
Oh, hear that, eh? The most likely path. We're talking 3 to 4 million on the salary cap instead of what we just saw and what we've been hearing for so long of the cap being, a flat cap era. This could be a very good start. I find it interesting as well because Frank's talked about this for a long time. I think he's even mentioned it on our show back in the day when he used to come on and join us. I haven't heard from Frank in years. But when Frank used to come on the show here, he mentioned the money that they had to pay back to the players. The players, like, that fund is almost over. I think he's been saying it's like 97 to 99% to be completed by this offseason. And that is through the pandemic and some weird, I don't know, some CBA stuff that's above my head. But once that's all paid off, it sounds like, we are going to start to see that cap jumping up quite a bit. And hey, listen, we all saw that Puckpedia tweet that went out like a week ago, and the Vancouver Canucks were still over the salary cap in the situation going into it. This change to the cap would put them in a spot where, hey, they can add a couple of players. Like, they can add that center. They can pay $4 or $5 million, or heck, they can use it somewhere else to maybe take on some cap. Other teams can maybe look at Brock Besser and look at Connor Garland and say, hey, no, we got that extra little bit. Maybe we should add this guy for the 1 and 2 years as our team's in a competitive window. And it's something that Frank mentioned there. I have a feeling that nobody is saying no to this. The players aren't saying no to this. The general managers aren't saying no to this. The owners aren't saying no to this. Everybody is probably on board for this. So why not make it happen? And Frank says he's pretty certain it is going to happen.
And there were reports in September, right, of 2022, that teams were preparing for sharp cap increases over the next 3 seasons. And hey, like, look, you just brought it up. Frank brought it up in that clip we just listened to. Nobody wins when the cap stays low, right? Like, that's the thing here is how often did we talk about, even leading up to the trade deadline, is yeah, teams want to make moves, but they can't. Like, everybody is in this flat cap world. You're seeing teams, have to go give up a pick to get a third team involved so they can eat some salary so that they can make some impactful trades. You're not seeing the same action and the same, I don't want to say intrigue, but you look at what the NBA, even the NFL, yeah, the excitement that trades bring. Like, people love it. People love trade speculation. You can say you hate it. You can say, oh, stop talking about JT Miller, blah, 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 whatever you want to say. People love it. People love talking about trades. People love player movement. And for the NHL, there's been such little player movement that you have to also think that it's starting to harm the product with how little movement there is around the league. Like, Patrick Kane got traded to the New York Rangers, and there was like no buzz about it. And that was like the biggest trade that we saw. And look, like, even Vladimir Tarasenko, like, there was other moves as well. But imagine those moves being the, fourth or fifth biggest moves of the deadline because teams actually have salary cap to play with, right? Like, there could have been more impactful trades. There wasn't, because, like, think about the Canucks. Just think about the Canucks, what the Canucks are trying to do. Nobody's taking Connor Garland at $5 million in a flat cap, right? So if it moves up, look, I think it's a good thing for everybody. It's a good thing for the Canucks, good thing for every team in the league. Most of all, I think it's a good thing for the fans of the game. And hey, selfishly, media that tries to prop up this league and say, hey, you should watch our show, you should read our website, you should you should be a huge NHL fan, you should pay close attention to this league. Now they might have a reason to.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. I would expect this to be announced a little bit before the draft, right? Because I feel like it's a quick turnaround from the draft to get to free agency. So if this is something that's happening for next season, yeah, well before the draft, the more and more I think about it, actually. But you bring up a good point, like big trades. And this is the fun part, because one of the 4 teams that's remaining in the Stanley Cup playoffs made a blockbuster of a trade. Probably one of the biggest trades we've seen, at least arguably one of the biggest trades we've seen in the most recent 5 years, right? Like, you can make an argument that was a huge deal. Matthew Tkachuk is a player who's up for the Hart this year. And you're watching it, and if that worked, I wonder how many teams are thinking, like, hey, we had a really good regular season team, but this big shakeup type of thing, it works for Florida. And how often do we talk about the NHL being a copycat league? And I just think that you have a potential here to really open things up a little bit, and that extra cap space, that's going to allow you to make a trade for a guy making $7 million, for a guy who's making $9 million if you're sending some money back. Like, these things can be possible. It's going to open up a lot of doors for excitement around the NHL, and I think that's great because, man, there is nothing more exciting than, like, the NBA offseason. I don't really follow the NBA, but, like, a big trade happens, it takes over all of Twitter. And, like, yeah, my Twitter is mostly full of hockey stuff, right? Everyone I follow is involved with hockey or Canucks fans or Canucks inside, everything. It's mostly Canucks stuff. That stuff will take over my timeline. It's a blast to see happen. And the NHL just doesn't have the potential to make it happen right now. I think taking steps towards getting to that potential even being available for the NHL is huge. And it's actually possible when you look at it with, actually getting some money here. Oh man, we got the window cleaners right at the window here now. This is crazy. In the background here. I'm not sure if Alex can cut to this. Crazy on the live stream. All right. But I mean, with the cap coming up, this is awesome.
Shoe review time.
I do not want to make eye contact here in the next minute. This is wild. This is also very strange. I got to check my shorts, make sure you can't. Anyways, I don't know how we're gonna get. I don't know how I'm gonna get through this, man. This has never happened before on the show.
Okay.
What is going on?
Oh, Alex wasn't here at the start of the show. They're cleaning the windows of Faber's building. They're cleaning the windows, so they got ropes. There was just ropes at the start. We were hoping that one of the cleaners would actually come by.
I wanted it to happen, but now it's happening, and I don't like it.
Okay. Moving on. Let's go.
I can't, dude.
I hope this guy's listening to the show right now. And
oh my gosh.
In a couple days, you'll be, whoa.
Damn.
Oh my gosh.
This is so
All right,
awkward.
he's getting lower. He's getting lower. Let's just
I'm
let's
so
just
sorry
stop.
to the YouTube folks.
Emil, this is going on all
Yeah,
of
well,
the
don't let him
platforms,
get any
just so
lower.
you know. Yeah,
All right.
let's go. Get rid
yeah.
of that camera. I got something here. Chris.
Get rid of that thing, Alex.
Okay. Last year, the salary cap was set at 82.5 million. It was the first increase in 3 years, basically, since the COVID-19 pandemic. That announcement came on June 16th of last year. So you would expect, like you said, before the draft, which is the 26th, I believe, this year, it's going to be around mid-June, we think, the cap increase. So, hey, we should have time to, that's like 2-3 weeks to talk about, hey, what are the Canucks going to do now they've got this extra cap space, right? What are they going to do with it? We'll see. We'll see kind of how it goes and if the cap actually does increase. Okay, can I get to the poll question as we talk about trading from the 11th pick?
Please do. I don't want to talk right now. I'm being stared at. So.
All right. Our poll question today on Thursday, May 18th. Our poll question, as always, brought to you by the great folks over at Atlas Goods. Use promo code CC15 at atlasgds.com. That promo code, CC15, will get you 15% off your first order of pop rinds. These are the best fresh pork rinds straight from your microwave or air fryer. The perfect low-carb snack, high in protein, like I said, straight from your microwave or air fryer. Delicious snack. Good, like I said, good flavor, that bacon one. And of course, high in protein, which is why I like it a lot. Okay, our poll question today. Do you think the Canucks will move their pick in the draft? The Canucks, of course, slated to pick at 11th overall. Our options today are yes, move up, yes, move down, yes, trade for a player, and no draft at 11. And unfortunately, I couldn't include I'm angry. So before you vote, Alex, I want to make sure this is clear to everybody. The question is, do you think the Canucks will move their pick in the draft? Not would you, if you were the Canucks, would you move the pick in the draft? As Alex votes, I want to quickly bring this up, Chris. The inspiration for this poll question today was Patrick Alvin speaking to a Swedish newspaper about Leo Carlsson and the idea of them moving up. And there was a Twitter user, Patrick Petrin, I think his handle is, who talked about this. And I went to go look at the article, and you can only see the start of it. You got to pay for the rest of it on that Swedish site. So I didn't get to read the whole thing. But basically what Patrick said was that he was talking about, I really like the player. It's going to cost a lot to move up, and it has to make sense for us to move up. Canucks aren't going to be able to put a package together to take Leo Carlsson from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Am I right about that? Can that conversation basically start and end right there?
Yeah, they don't have the pieces for that, unfortunately. Even if you were to look at their top prospects that you could use in a trade, it's like Hoglander's not going to get it done. Podkolzin's not going to get it done. You're not getting up from 11 without probably another first round pick at least, and then a prospect probably to go from 11 to 2, because there's a huge difference between the top 4 guys and the rest that you're going to see between the 5 and 11 range. So yeah, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. What's going on here, Alex?
Okay.
How many viewers we got? No, Alex is doing double duty. I can't be ripping on him.
Yeah, no kidding. Right. Okay, so let me get to the results.
Yeah, get to the results here real quick. You can pull it up.
Alex voted for no, drafted 11. The majority of voters agree with Alex, myself included. I think they're going to trade 11th, Chris, because partly this is because we do this song and dance every year where we talk, oh, are they going to move? Are they going to move? And then they never do. So no, I think they will draft at 11. The other options, 23% say yes, they will trade it for a player. I think that's the most likely. If they move the pick, I think it's most likely for a player. 19% say yes, they will move up. 12% say no, yes, they will move the pick, but they will move down in the draft order. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to draft at 11th. Part of me also thinks that, yeah, they might trade it for a player. Like, I don't think that's completely out of the realm of possibility, Chris. I really don't.
Some people in the chat here, Vince and Jesse, JT in 11th. For the 2nd or 3rd overall pick. I don't buy this. The reports of JT Miller being offered 2 first-round picks. I don't think I can't see it. Back in the this was reported a little while ago by Frank, I believe.
What do you mean you don't buy it?
I don't
Like,
think
you
it's.
don't
I
think
don't
the
think that
Canucks
would.
were asking for 2 first-round picks?
No, I don't think the Canucks were offered 2 first-round picks because,
That's not what
geez,
the
that would
report
make.
was.
What was the report?
That they were looking for 2 first-round picks and a prospect.
Oh, okay. But I'm off then.
I, I don't think it was reported that they turned down 2 first-round picks. The report, I believe also from Friedman, was that they turned down multiple picks. It wasn't multiple first-round picks.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. And I was going to say, I'd say no matter the case here, that's a lot. Yeah, okay. I'm reading it now. The
Frank's
Canucks
never coming
reported.
on the show again.
Oh, I know. Well, he's not listening, so we're okay. Uh, all right. I think the most likely trading scenario, I do agree with the people. I think they're going to pick at 11, but I do think that the most likely trade scenario is for a player. So I don't want to get to the rankings first. Why don't we get this up? The RFAs, Alex, if we can get this graphic up here. I think this might be the route where they end up going, with an RFA potentially being the player. And these are some of the top ones that I'm looking at. And I don't think it's straight across 11 for any of these guys. I do think you balance this out with prospects or draft picks. But Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's an RFA. He's going to need a new contract. He obviously, I think from everybody kind of reading the situation, he doesn't want to be back in Winnipeg again next season. He's 24 years old, coming off a 27-goal season. Hell of a third-line center if the Canucks are looking to add him that way. Vince Dunn, I don't think he's a real option. I think that he's going to be back with Seattle. They really like him, and he had a great offensive season. Bowen Byram, coming off an ELC. Don't know what his future is. I wonder if, I think Colorado would like to keep him, but I wonder if there's something else that you can look for with Byram to get him a new start, get him in Vancouver. I know there's the concussion worries moving forward for sure, but there's a hell of a player there when Byram is healthy. So we'll have to see. Christian Fischer had a big year with the Coyotes. And I'm not saying this is the guy you want to give your 11th overall pick for, but 26 years old, plays center, could be an option for a later round pick maybe. And then Gabe Vilardi, how about a breakout season for him, man? At 23 years old, he scored 23 goals this year. And they have a lot of depth in the Kings system there to kind of play in that 3C, 4C role. So you wonder if Vilardi might be one that you can kind of shake loose. And Vilardi's more of a player that you like the opposing team is targeting, right? They're not trying to trade Vilardi, but they're thinking, hey, if we can get a big haul back for a player that's being targeted, it's probably Gabe Vilardi from that Kings team, right? So it's an interesting one to watch there. He's coming off a 1-year, $825,000 contract as well. So he's a center option. Really would be a very good third line center for the Canucks moving forward. He's young, like we said, 23 years old. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this player here.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I don't think they move that pick at the end of the day, but if they do, probably going to be for one of those young players. Like we saw them get Hronek, and look, like we haven't seen a full season of Filip Hronek, but he's a good defenseman. He's the second best defenseman on this team immediately. Yeah, they gave up a first and a second for it, and it could have been a lot worse given the trade protection or I should say lack of, on that pick that they ended up moving. Look, they like Hronek. Let's see how he does next year. I'm not saying I love the move or anything like that, but they're looking for playoffs, and Hronek gets them closer.
And if you think the cap is scary for the Canucks right now, the Canucks have 2 of the top 4 RFAs, like when it comes to what they're making on their current contracts. Hronek and Pettersson are 2 of the top 4 RFAs next summer. So they're going to be looking for big raises, both of them. So the cap is going to need to be handled a lot. As much as it's going to be a struggle this summer, you need to also prepare for when that extra money is coming on with Pettersson and Hronek. And yeah, you hope that there's going to be some rise in the salary cap in general. So hopefully that gives you some space as well. But you got 2 of the top 4 RFAs who are making current money on their contracts right now, both going to be looking for big raises. And I think that's something you have to worry about for next season. But you know what? I don't want to worry about that. That's too far in the future. Let's go ahead.
On that note, people in the chat also brought up the idea of an offer sheet. Could the Canucks offer sheet someone? Offer sheets often end with retaliation from another GM. We saw the whole thing with Sebastian Aho in Carolina, and then followed by Jesperi Kotkaniemi the following summer. Teams don't forget that kind of thing. You saw the statement that was put out by Don Waddell, Carolina Hurricanes general manager, when they offer sheeted Jesperi Kotkaniemi, used almost verbatim the statement that the Habs put out from Mark Bergevin, who was the GM at that time, I believe, who offer sheeted Sebastian Aho. Teams don't like that. And if the Canucks want to put a huge target on their back the summer before they go into negotiations with Filip Hronek and Elias Pettersson, then yeah, they could do an offer sheet, but they won't because they're not going to want to put a target on their back right before that summer. So no, an offer sheet will not happen this summer. Also, it's Jim Rutherford. That ain't happening.
No. Here's a question. I like this in the chat here because I think it's worth discussing. Would you trade the 11th overall pick for Bowen Byram? Because it's a stacked draft. You're getting a very good player, but man, and that's the risk, right? Because when Bowen Byram's on, if you're talking about a second pair of a healthy, motivated Bowen Byram and Philip Hronik, and you got Quinn Hughes and literally insert just a live body with a right-handed stick, you're talking about a top four that is starting to look pretty damn good in the NHL if they live up to potential. The question is, are they going to live up to potential? Because, man, that's a great second pairing. If you have a healthy Bowen Byram, and I think that's just the question with him, is he going to be healthy next season?
OEL Myers, your third pair still?
Yeah, well, yeah. What are you gonna say?
That is one of the defense groups of the NHL.
The Canucks have arguably one of the best defense cores in the league with a $13 million third pair that can't skate or defend, but that's what they got. I want to talk about Willander. I told you how much I've been watching Tom Willander. You're texting me all the time. We'll write this article about Mark Gatcomb signing a contract. I said, no, you handle that. I'm busy watching prospects. So I got 2.5 minutes of video. I'd just love to run this in the background if you could, Alex, or whatever. Alex has got all these configurations of the screen here. Get this video running here of Tom Willander. Quads, ask me any question about Tom Willander. I watched 25 games in the last 48 hours.
Rank him with Reinbacher and Sandin Pellikka in your top 15 or 20, where you think they're going to actually go, not where you think he should go.
Okay, so if I was to mock a spot for Willander, I think he goes around 14, 15 in this draft, because it'll be interesting. If somebody really believes in Sandin Pellikka, I could see the 3 right shot defensemen going in the top 14, really, top 13, really, with these guys. And Willander, there's a lot to like about his skating. Obviously, that's the thing that gets talked about a lot. He's an incredible skater, and the thing that you see in his skating is he's able to look so good when it comes to that skating, because I feel like there's almost, and I think the right word to use here is, this kid's got some swagger, okay? He's got the swagger that he can move around guys in this league. He's faster than everyone. He's got a better shot than a lot of the guys in this league. He can defend well, but I think there's a swagger about how he understands that, like, he's thinking the game better. Like, he's thinking the game better about how to find space, whether that be in the defensive zone. You can see it on some of these clips that are running right now if you're watching on YouTube or coming back to watch this clip later. He does a really good job of attacking with pace. So every time he's picking up the puck at the point, you can see that he's creating movement for himself to be going towards the net, which is huge. And he doesn't have like a bomb of a slap shot yet, but you can see right there, as we just saw on YouTube, a little snapshot to beat a goaltender. He's doing a lot of this in the J20 league. He didn't play in the SHL at all this season. People will go on the elite prospects, but yeah, he did. He played 2 games. He didn't have a shift in either of those 2 games. The thing that drives me the most nuts is when people try and correct me on these things. No, you played 2 games. He didn't have a shift. He just geared up for 2 of the games for Rugla. But he was in the J20 league most of the year this year. And I tell you, there's a lot to like offensively about this guy, but I think the best part is just he's got that well-rounded thing in his game that it's just so, like, Axel Sandin Pellikka does not. Okay, David Reinbacher I really think does. I also like that Reinbacher was challenged a little bit harder, because I think that this J20 league that we're seeing him play in, that Willander's playing in, it's much lower than the Swiss Pro League. And I think that's why I have Reinbacher higher. But I do think there's a lot to like with Willander. He kind of projects to being a guy who can bring offense, but also be a puck mover on a top pairing. So that's good. He kills penalties. He's playing 30 minutes a night in that J20 league, so they're playing the wheels off of him. So I think all in all, you really liked where this kid's going to take a step, end up moving up to the SHL next season with Rugla, who is a team that's done a very good job developing right shot defensemen. You can look at Mo Seider. There's a lot of Mo Seider connections to the top right shot defenseman in this coming draft. But from everything that I've seen with Willander, I'm going to write a very long article coming up here at Canucks Army. Quad is going to be so long, you're not even going to be able to edit it, because you're going to see 2,500 words. You're not going to know what to do with that. But I just think that everything that Willander has done this season, and specifically of late, he looked really good in the U18s as well. But a lot of really good things offensively. They did these junior leagues, but you can just see that he's got so much confidence in his own game when it comes to the things away from offense that you're like, oh, okay, like he's got it figured out, that he's too good for that league. That's the difference that I see from Willander and Axel Sandin Pellikka. ASP just like takes advantage of being better than everyone in that league and not really well rounding out his game. So he's like a very good offensive player. He's really good offensively in this league. But he does things that you're like, you can't do that at the next level. You can't do that at the next level. You can't be the guy forechecking first on a lot of these rushes. Like, ASP needs to figure that out, and I'm sure he will start to figure it out when he's in the SHL next year of like, oh, okay, like I can't get away with these things anymore. It just seems like Willander is so confident in his game that he knows he's going to have to work on the parts that he's not exactly thriving in right now, but he's looking good enough at them at the J20 league that he's able to build on the base level that he has. So I think that I got Willander above ASP for sure. So I was a little shocked. We talked about on Tuesday's show, seeing Craig Button's list having ASP at 5. I've got Willander in the top 15 for sure.
Yeah, look, we say it on every show, and I don't want to just sound like a broken record, but the breakdown of where these guys actually go is going to be really interesting. I'm not just talking about the right defenseman, Chris. It's just there seems to be so much disagreement with this draft class outside of the top, hell, even 3 now. Like, and I'm not including Michkov in that top 3. Nobody knows where Michkov's going to go at this point, right? So, look, there's a lot of disagreement, and this is going to be one of the more interesting drafts, I think, in recent memory that I can remember. Like, I think you're going to see a few picks where in the past it was, whoa, Moritz Seider, whoa, Barrett Hayton, those guys move up some spots. I think there's going to be a few of those in the top 10 for sure. I think we're going to see at least 2. Usually there's 1. I think we're going to see at least 2 this year. And in the top 20, who knows? I think we're going to see close to 3, 4, maybe even 5 of those picks where, oh, wow, I didn't think he'd go in the top 20, and there he goes. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I've been talking to some scouts from some non-Canucks NHL teams, and Fantilli is not for sure the number 2 guy. Like, you can, Bedard's going to go number 1. We all know that. You don't think you're going to have any scouts pushing up against that. But, man, the more people I talk to, the more I'm like, hey, this is a pretty split decision here on Fantilli. Somebody's going to get Fantilli at 2, or somebody's going to get Carlson at 2. These 2 players really have the option. I think Carlson's doing himself some favors as how he's playing at the U18s. You watch him today, making saucer passes through NHL defensemen on backdoor tap-ins, and you're thinking, like, gosh, like that projects extremely well. Adam Fantilli, I don't know if he's doing the exact same, but he looked really good at a Michigan team that, like, don't get me wrong, Michigan was like stacked, right? Like, it's not like Örebro was a standalone ultimate team in the SHL like you saw Michigan in the NCAA. So I think people are seeing that. They're also seeing that it was a pro league and Leo Carlson was able to fit in. I think he is going to make a push for that number 2 spot, and I don't think that would surprise me at all. Yeah, this draft is going to be, with so many little curveballs thrown in there, like Matvei Michkov and his status for the NHL. There's a lot of little different things. I'm curious to see the Canucks here with Dalibor Dvorsky as a real player that I think they might end up targeting. And I do have the stats here. I put this in. I don't know if you have this one, Alex, too, but just different leagues that Dvorsky played in. And, 6'1", center, 200 pounds already. Oh, I didn't change the thing. He's not a right D. I got the graphic wrong. Dang it. But he played in the J20 league. And in that J20 league, it's a solid league, but it's a junior league, right? But he scored 10 goals, added 11 assists. He did that in 10 games in the J20 Swedish league. He also went on to the Allsvenskan, where he scored 6 goals, added 8 assists, had a better regular season than Jonathan Lekaramäki. Then he went to the U18s, played in 7 games, where he had 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points. Even 3 points of the World Juniors this past year as a 17-year-old. Dvorsky, like, there's some real options for the Canucks at 11. I think Dvorsky might be one of them too. So the Canucks are going to get a player here. So I think all this talk about trading it away for a roster player, the Canucks are really going to have to make a decision on when they want to start being competitive, because I think it's an easier option for them to push that down another year, make a draft pick here, maybe trade a player at the draft because people will be excited to get a player, get their team boosted. That extra little bit of cap space, I really think, could open up the doors to potentially a Myers, a Miller, any trade of these guys, a Besser or Garland. Like, that might start to open up some doors. Maybe you'd start to get some draft picks at that point. I don't know. I want them to have as many swings as possible in this draft, because I really think you're finding some players here that are going to make a massive impact. And I say this a lot. I know that every once in a while, everyone's like, this is a generational draft. This is the best draft we've seen since blah, 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 or this is the best one since 2015. I always think it's straight, because this is more of like a big brain kind of take a step back view at the NHL. But, like, every draft class basically feels like it's getting better, right? Like, if you just look at year over year, the guys that are coming out this year are, head and shoulders above the players that came out in 2005 or 2006 at the time. Like, these players are incredible at their age. They're just getting better. It's like watching Wayne Gretzky back in the day compared to what Connor McDavid looks like. Like, yeah, Gretzky put up a ton of points and no one's ever going to beat it. But like McDavid moves, it feels like 20 miles an hour faster. It's just the game gets better and better every year. So the draft picks get better and better every year. So I just think adding picks is so big. And I think that, with what we talked about earlier in the show and what this draft is looking like, I tell you, I would love to see the Canucks be able to add some picks. And let's not forget, the Vancouver Canucks, and this is something I've been actually, since I've been watching so much of the Swedish hockey and I watch a bunch of the J20 League, I picked out about, I got about 20 names now that kind of stuck out to me that had good games. Going to start to talk about players for the Canucks, because the Canucks have 5 draft picks in the 3rd or 4th round this year. They have 2 picks in the 3rd round. They have 3 picks in the 4th round. I think you're going to be able to find some players, whether it be in the Super Elite League out of Sweden or some of the Finnish leagues, some of these leagues in Europe. I've got a whole bunch of names now that I'm excited to kind of dive in on a little bit more that I've been able to watch a little bit of lately. So you could use those draft picks. Maybe that's something you can move up to the 2nd round with. Like, there's a lot of options, man. The Canucks at least have some options in the draft. Like, you look at it, how many years has it been? It feels like the Canucks have had, extra 7s and extra 6th-round picks in the past, but to get some picks in the first 4 rounds, that's where you got to find your gold. Like, that's where you got to find a player. With those 5 picks in the 3rd/4th round, find a guy. Find an NHL contributor. Find a guy who plays in a top 4 role. Find a guy who's a middle 6 center. Like, find that there. You can do it. You can do it. You have to get lucky, or you have to do an incredible job scouting, but it's absolutely possible, and it happens. It totally happens. Jason Robertson's not a 1st-round pick. He's heading off. Like, these players that you can find. I hope the Canucks do an excellent job scouting. I hope they can just find 1 or 2 guys out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, odds and ends. Ed Jovanovski was on Donnie and Dolly, friends of the show. Donnie and Dolly, Arizona Coyotes. Have we talked about this yet? Yeah, Dolly was a friend too. Come on now. Okay, I don't know how much we've talked about the Arizona situation. We're not going to get into it too much. By now you've heard about it. If you haven't, go read Canucks Army. The Tempe, whatever, referendum, I can't remember what it was, turned down the Coyotes' proposition to build a $2.1 billion entertainment district, which would feature a new arena on a garbage dump. Did you catch that? That they were proposing to build it on a landfill, which is, there's a metaphor in there somewhere. But I wanted to quickly talk about this because Jovanovski, who played for the Phoenix Coyotes at the time, signed there as a free agent, of course, after his time as a Canuck, which lasted 6 seasons when that came to an end, signed in Phoenix. He spoke a bit about it, and he basically was just saying, get them out of there. And he even said, when I was there, the league was signing my checks. So tells you everything you need to know. You want to talk about the cap going up, talk about the Coyotes getting out of Arizona, let me tell you. Okay, the other thing about that, he spoke about Rick Tocchet. He really likes Rick Tocchet. He said he wants to see the Canucks core players stay together. He wants them to build around the core that's here and see what Tocchet can do. He really likes Rick Tocchet. Called him a good friend of his. So that was Ed Jovanovski's thoughts. I thought it was an interesting little thing to get in there.
Okay, my odds and ends. Arturs Silovs, he was shining again. You mentioned a little bit earlier, but the 2-1 win over Norway. He made 20 saves on 21 shots. Let's get the stats up from his World Championships this year. He's been good so far. He's got a .899 save percentage, so he wants to bump that up through 4 games. He's been Latvia's goalie since he replaced Ivars Punanovs 5 minutes into the first game of that tournament. So, he's had some good games. Listen to, 2-1 win the other day I mentioned against Norway. He's real nice save percentage, that one. So everyone's getting excited about Silovs. Quads, 1 year ago, he was having an even better World Championships. Do you remember Silovs? His save percentage last year at the World Championships? A .952 save percentage last year at the World Championships, and they had that tremendous game against Sweden to finish out the tournament. It was a 1-0 loss, but Silovs kept them in. He stopped 34 of 35 saves against Sweden last year. Sweden, a team that loves the World Championships. So that was good to see. And he's still continuing to roll. And I tell you, he's the starter. He's Latvia's goalie now for the future, man. He's the goalie of Latvia's future. So that's good to see. And you mentioned it earlier. Abbotsford Canucks, they signed Mark Gatcomb. Tell you what, Gatcomb took a very nice step in the AHL playoffs. We talked about him a little bit on this show, but from being there in the arena and watching him, real good, grindy type of bottom 6 forward for the AHL team. Not gonna knock any doors down about coming up to the NHL, but I like him in the AHL and I like him developing because I feel like he was a player who developed this season. He at the start of the year was a guy who probably wasn't even going to be in the lineup every night. By the end of the year, pretty impactful forward. And I think there was one night I called him the best player for Abbotsford in the playoffs on one of those games. So that's a big step and development, right? That is development. We see so much of it in Abbotsford, man. Like, damn, like get Lecaire-Mackey over here. Get him playing in Abbotsford. They're doing it right. They're developing everyone. Like Mark Gatcomb's developing. You think Lecaire-Mackey's not going to do it? I tell you, get him out there with the Sedins, man. And I'd love to see it. It's not going to happen, but I'd like to see it because they're doing it right in Abbotsford.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely. We've talked at length about the Abbotsford Canucks. Okay. I think that's about it. Do you have anything else that you need to get in there? Because I got my Jovanovski update, so I'm done.
Yeah, Canucks. I saw this email. They got the equipment sale on Friday. You and I like this. I actually got this mug, which Lisa mentioned earlier, so I showed it off a little bit. I got this mug for $1. I can go to this, right? As a media member, I can go buy Canucks stuff still, right? I've been told I can't, and I shouldn't be using Canucks stuff or giving the Canucks money.
Giving it away.
Well, hey,
like we did.
Well, I didn't give away this. I got this for $1. I'm keeping this. But yeah, we give some of it away. I got a Louis Eriksson stick there. It's my favorite. It's my second favorite sports memorabilia collection that I got. The Louis Eriksson broken stick from the 2020 season. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I might get down there, but I don't know if I'm going to at the same time. I'm gone to the island next weekend, so that'll be nice to get away. So I don't know if I'm going to make it, but 12 o'clock on Friday, the 26th.
Okay,
not tomorrow.
Alex, blow me up here. I was trying to prepare a slideshow, but then it got a little tough because I had to do a few things before the show. We had to get the poll question done, had a few things. But I have some photos, Chris, to wrap up your 20s. And Alex, I don't know if this is too much. If we can get some sort of farewell music to a person's 20s, I would love to have that pulled up here because, Chris, I've compiled some photos, okay? And I really, really think we need to go through them just to kind of look back on your 20s. And it was a good run. Turning 30 tomorrow. Turning 30 tomorrow. Like I said, your 20s are behind you. And hey, man, you accomplished a lot in your 20s, okay? And I've got a few photos here, so just bear with me. I'm trying to put them all together, and what I'm doing is I have them all, but they all have like personal information in them, so I'm cropping them so that I don't broadcast that to everybody. But you had some good times in your 20s, Chris. You had some good times. Alex has got the music. Okay, I'm ready for this. Alex, blow me up here. And of course, I'm not going to screen share. I'm literally going to point my phone at the camera. So, Chris, you remember this photo?
Oh, yeah. That was my recess party that I had back in Nanaimo. We had a recess, the TV show themed party. I was King Bob, and all the girls dressed up there. We got some Ashleys, and yeah. That was a good party. That was a great party.
That was it. How old were you in that photo?
Jeez, man. I don't know. Maybe 23, 24, 25, around there. No, I was younger, 20. I was 21. I was still playing football at the time when I was living in that house.
Do you think you and I would have been friends if we were the same age and I was 23 and you were 23?
I don't think so. I don't think you would have got along with my crowd.
I have to agree with you. Okay, backstory of this photo. Go.
That's the same house there. That's 21 years old. I was right after I cleaned the toilet and step so clean you could eat off of it. Look at how thin I am back then too. In my young 20s, back when I was an athlete. Jeez, good times. And then they told me
athlete.
Oh yeah, that's when they told me to beef up to play football. They wanted me over 300 pounds, so I did it very easily. And I went in there to do a model shoot with the VI Raiders, and none of the clothes fit. They only had like larges and extra larges, and I was beefed up at like 320 at that point because I was playing D tackle, and the only thing I could model was the hat. So the beard could use a little trim there, but yeah, that was probably 20, 21 years old.
All right, final one of my little slideshow here. Caught a fish.
Oh yeah, yep. Well, Quads, times. you're gonna see that spot actually at my bachelor party. Where
yes, I'm gonna fish.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna fish for the first time. I was telling you, I want to fish. I've never fished.
Yeah, that's the spot there. One of the lakes near the spot that we're staying, and nice little fish. But I look a little rough there too because I was probably hey, young 20s, I was getting after it, right? I mean, we were out there camping in the woods. So I was having a good time.
That's right. Okay, we'll wrap it up there.
Well,
Happy birthday,
everybody
buddy.
doesn't even want, like Karan says it, don't mind the favorite picks, but I want a Burt cam. So I'm just, trying to reminisce on my 20s here, but nobody wants it. They want to see the little puppy.
All right, let's see. I don't even know what he's upside down. He's sleeping upside down, folks.
Oh, yeah. Looking good, Burt. All right, but yeah, I appreciate it, Quads. It's been a blast. The 20s are going to be behind me here, but I'm excited for what's coming at 30. And yeah, that's that. So let's get out of here. Tomorrow or next time you see me, I'll be more mature, that's for sure. And I'll have a dentist.
That's right.
That's I tell you what, is that not the most mature thing I could do? Turning into my 30s, becoming a grown ass man. I can't be, skipping on the dentist anymore. So tomorrow, that's my birthday present to myself. I'm going to the dentist.
All right, we'll close it out there as we bid adieu to your 20s. Without further ado, I will close out this show. So, for my co-host Chris Faber, the window cleaning guy, intern Emil, and of course our technical producer Alex Lard, my name is David Quadrelli. Have a great weekend, folks. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Yep, prospects next week, interviews, all of it.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?